be wearing much less than this.
I thought he was going to be wearing a loincloth. That's the reason I wanted to do the show.
I said I would if you guys would, but they bought.
Oh, wait, good to see you again.
Yeah, well, you know, I got a break on my hands, you know.
Yeah, it's good. Boy, I'll tell you, the last time you were here, a lot of things happened.
And that was different for me, you know. I got a kick out of it. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed having you, and you were such a hit. We got a lot of people on the show who had never done talk shows, and I can thank you for it. We had Hall & Oates here. And,
it's the least I can do.
Yeah. Well, where did you learn what we just saw, that swing? That's not easy.
Well, you know, I've been doing a lot of things on stage, you know, for about the last 15, 17 years. And when you're up on stage just kind of rocking out, you know, you get a little fantasy vision, you know, going. And we like, you know, we do a lot of really
something into that.
Well, they probably saw this stuff before. And we get some really intense rock and roll going. And outside of the rock and roll world, when I'm not on tour, I hunt and I fish and I live in the woods and I climb trees and I.
You've been on a safari? Have you been on a safari, an actual safari?
Yeah, I was in Africa 2 years ago on a safari with the bow and arrow.
Hunting game with a bow and arrow. What kind of game?
All the dangerous game: Cape buffalo and lion.
Did you actually shoot a lion with a bow and arrow?
I didn't get the lion with the bow and arrow. He knew I was there, so I opted for a little bit bigger weapon on him. But you know, when I was in Africa, we got rained out of the safari camp. And I actually did go from high ground to high ground on some vines one day. Me and the African boys, we was cruising through the treetops, and these German doctors were out there hunting with us, you know.
German doctors?
Yeah, some German doctors. These guys didn't quite understand this rock and roll guy out there, you know, hunting. And they were in the Range Rovers driving, and I opted to run and go through the trees. It was great.
But you have to do something like that. You have to be with somebody who knows the vines that are the stable vines. You can't just go out and grab a vine. You're liable to take a header from a.
I was getting cocky, you know, and I just was reaching for him, and I got lucky, you know.
Did you yell and everything?
Sure.
Did you miss the whole Tarzan yell?
Well, you know, like I always say, you can't keep a good dog down. And when I was with these guys, I got into the spirit things, you know. Yeah. It was fun.
Did your kids go with you on that?
Not to Africa, they didn't. I expect in the future they will, because they go to Montana, and they've been all through the United States with me.
Now, you have an interesting relationship with your children in that you spend. They live with you 6 months out of the year, is that right? Yeah. And with your wife, 6 months out of the year.
But I was divorced a while back, I forget, and a couple years ago. And I stood my ground because there isn't a power on earth, nor a man on earth who could deny me my basic paternal responsibilities to my children. And I wasn't going to hear about weekend, you know. And I impressed the judge with my demands and desires. I tried to.
What kind of an approach was it with the judge? What is it, a subtle approach, Ted?
No. I looked at him, you know.
Just right?
I said, I just made it very important because I love my children very much. And
how many children have you?
I have 2 children. My little boy Toby was 4 last week, and my little girl Sasha will be 7 in February.
What a great name, Sasha. Oh, yeah. That's beautiful.
They're magic. They really are.
And they spend 6 months. Where is this?
Well, we live in Michigan, and we've got a farm in Michigan, and I think the consistency of environment is like the optimum concern for young children when they're developing.
You wouldn't want to bring them up in an environment like this on the West Coast?
No, I like to take them to the zoo like this once in a while. And they can see all the different tilts. No, I like to let them see all the different things available. They got to see the craziness and the smooth going things. So I try to expose them to a little bit of everything. You know,
a lot of people who have seen your concerts look at them as sheer insanity. You know, how do you respond to people like that?
Well, I would say it's probably insanity-wise just this side of a hockey game. You know, I think the name of the adjective to use for a rock and roll concert is intensity. I mean, them people is rocking, and they're having a good time, and you get a film of rock and rollers, and you're going to see a whole lot of teeth because they're smiling, they're laughing, they're screaming. There ain't no violence, there ain't no negative feelings. It's all so exciting. It's all spirit, you know. It's a good feeling. It's all positive. There's a bunch of saps who misinterpret the intensities of a good time And if they don't understand it, I don't really care.
No, I just... It is exciting because I was lucky enough to be at Elton John's concert in Central Park, and they're like, oh yeah, and it was like 400,000 people.
That was a free concert, wasn't it?
It was a free concert, but the unity was so electrifying, and he did a lot of his old stuff, which was really exciting too. But to see 300,000 people joined together at one time was really something to see.
There was
nothing.
Well, okay, obviously when you get any number of humans together, there's going to be a few wounded individuals, you know, who can't control themselves. But I think overall, rock and roll concerts are really
What's the
really
biggest crowd you
positive.
played to, Ted?
Back in the early 70s, we had a lot of these pop festivals, you know, when all the rockers would come out and they'd camp out for 2 or 3 days. And I think in Sedalia, Missouri, we played for over 500,000 people.
Good.
Something?
In one
I mean, how
show.
do you relate to that? What goes through your mind, that many people? I can't imagine.
Must have felt like Billy Graham.
Yeah.
Well,
Seriously.
you know, it transcends, you know, just discussing. I mean, there's again, the word intensity surfaces because it is unified. I mean, what we had was we didn't have, out of the 500,000 people, we didn't have a faction of this thought train and a faction of that thought train. We had 500,000 people there to rock and roll, period. Thank you. And I mean, we could have taken over the world like
How
that.
about this economy, Ted? Has this affected rock concerts in any way? Because the first thing I think it affects is the loot that the kids have.
Sure. Well, the cash ain't on hand, you know, and I've seen it firsthand over the years because when I was beginning back in the 60s, the reason that I could play as often as I did, which was every night of the year, is because the speed limit was 70 and gas was 29.9. And nowadays, with 55 miles an hour and the gas prices like they are, you just can't get to that many jobs. We'd do 100 and then you'd only get ticketed for 30 over, and nowadays they throw you in the can, you know. So I think the number of concerts and the experience that a musician can accumulate is not available to them as it was for me in the earlier days.
The experience you mentioned earlier, the 500,000 people, is that the greatest experience performing that you can relate to?
No, again, you gotta...
What's the biggest thrill you've had on stage?
It's probably the first night my dad came to the concert in December 28, 1978. We played in Pontiac Stadium in Detroit, and we had sold it out, you know, 50, 60,000 people.
That's a ton of people.
Yeah, my dad still thought that we were throwing the amps in the back of the Chevy and going to the VFW house, you know. And he comes in and he sees all this equipment and 6 semis, and he's going, yeah, Ted, I like it. My son.
We're going to get Ted to perform right after this. We'll be right back.